What's good, YouTube? SlimTv here to put a center to on this new topic. Today we got Black American culture is dying. Ghetto blacks are to blame. I mean, yeah, I agree with the title to an extent. I think it really starts with the man in the society, in the black culture in particular. Just to start off, man, we need to do better with just presiding over our households and instilling an actual culture in the households, and holding our children and our wife to that standard, so that when they go out into the world, they can then project that, well, not project it, but also, the standard is out there. That's what I'm getting at. So if your child has a certain standard, other people will see how they're living and they might adapt that standard, and then your child will have children and so on and so forth. But let's just get into it.
Nobody asked for it. I am sick of seeing Black Americans in the media, on social media, in the news, doing crime, walking around next to naked, the women, the men perpetuating gang violence, substance abuse. The absolute worst of our community is oversaturating the media, even though they make up a small percentage of all of Black Americans. The decay of our morality within Black...
Well, not to, get into that too much, but the media is controlled. All right. So because the media is controlled, yes, the small amount of the degenerate people in our community are being perpetuated to the front of the media. But we have to look at who's controlling the media. Again, I still have to hold the black people or the black community accountable for allowing, this to go on, because we're giving it attention. Number one, the media is driven off of attention. So the more attention that you give it, the more publicity is going to have, right? The more publicity is going to have, and the more that they're going to keep showing it. So we need to get our children off of it. We need to get our wives or whatever, we need to get the whole community off of that. We're perpetuating it because people love to see it. You can even see it like on my channel, right? I have videos where I'm just talking in the car, spitting some knowledge or whatever, and people would rather watch me react to Skeeter Jean or Pop the Balloon. And honestly, I don't got a problem with that, because I can still say what I got to say. But the point of the matter is, people don't just want to sit down and listen. They want to have some drama behind it, and then hopefully my message will get through the drama. They want to have something going on, though. They want to have something to look at. Let's continue.
Communities has been slowly declining over the past 20 years, and no one is talking about it. No one is saying anything about it or trying to address it. And if you do, you are often told that you're policing Black bodies. If you say Black women, stop getting on the internet and in the media, twerking, walking around with little clothes on. People tell you that you're policing bodies, policing Black bodies, or it's respectability politics. If you are Black and you speak your piece on what we're seeing in the media, if you don't like seeing the low morality that is often portrayed about the Black...
Okay, so I get that she's harping on the Black community, but I'm gonna be real. Low morality is a thing that has been going throughout the whole country. It's not just Black people in general are losing morals day by day. Nobody really has a standard that they live by. And when we look at how the economy is going, people are starting to adapt this mindset of, I need to get what I need to get to survive. And it's not really about me helping you anymore. It's not about me being a good person. It's about me getting over on you so that I can make a living or get home and be comfortable. That's what it's turning into, slowly but surely. So with that being said, when you are I'm sure you heard this saying before, America is a melting pot. And they literally mean that. America is melting the cultures, right? So with that being said, I said that like 2 times already. But because America is melting the cultures together, you got Black people, white people, Arabs, Asians, Mexican, Latinos. All of us are in the same country. So nobody can have one overarching culture because everybody is next to each other. Like, if you go to Mexico, the culture there is mostly Latin, right? It's a Latino culture. If you go to Africa, it's an African culture. There were dashikis, and if you go to Saudi Arabia, it's an Arabian culture. Here in America, there is no overarching culture because everybody's culture is, again, melded together. Right now, there is actually one culture that's above the rest, and that's basically the people who are the head of this society, which are white people. If I'm being real, that white people are the head of America. That's the head of this society. So that's the overarching culture, but not one culture in particular can really reign supreme. Now, looking at the media, who controls the media, right? The media also perpetuates a certain culture onto everybody. And the culture that I'm seeing being pushed onto everybody is simply just do whatever the hell you want to do. And there is no consequences. You see it in the movies, you see it in TV. People just kind of try and normalize everything so it can be one big free-for-all. And no society is going to last that way. Order is something that every society needs. Let's continue.
Community in the media, from the trap music to the black women twerking in music videos and all over social media, the Sukihanas and the Sexy Reds of the world. If you are black and you take issue with it and you talk about it, you are usually called bourgeois, sedity, uppity, it's respectability politics, you're policing black bodies and the like. And it's like...
Yeah, I noticed that a lot of the times black people will make it seem like that's all we have. And that also comes from the school system only teaching about, slavery and what happened to us. So then it gives us a lesser thought about ourselves. And so when that's internalized, and then when you grow up, and you may think that you came out of that mindset, but you really haven't. You really haven't came out of the slavery mindset. So when you grow up, and then when you start embracing that culture, you're like, dang, wow, we're not just slaves, we're twerkers too. Okay. We're not just slaves. We have weed, and we're not just slaves. We have alcohol, and we're not just slaves, but we also like to party. It's like, okay, you try and attach yourself to that because in the back of your mind, you think that that's all you are. And that's why I also teach, on my channel, or what I try and say is you really have to focus on who you are and make that your standard, and if you believe in God, use that as your standard as well. Use God as your standard. Actually have him as your first standard, and then have who you are as like your second underlying standard, the things that you like to do and everything. But that's why it's important that you really focus on that so that you're not caught up in this. A lot of black people will start to merge into that culture just to be cool, and that's not really who you are. Like me, we'll just use video games for example. A lot of my peer group will like to play Call of Duty and Modern Warfare. Man, I take my happy ass home to hop on Mario, bro. And I did not care. I'll hop on Mario Kart. I'll go home and play Sonic, man. Everybody would be talking about their Xbox. I'll be talking about my Nintendo Switch. I mean, you have to have that mindset to where you're an individual person as well. Yes, you're black. And yes, you're black, and you're in this community. But at the end of the day, you're also your own individual.
No, I'm black too. And as such, this being my ethnic culture as well, I have a right to have something to say about what I'm seeing going on. Your average black American is a middle-class, working-class, blue-collar Jane and Joe. The ghetto subculture, black ghetto subculture that we see often portrayed and over inundated and oversaturating the media, those black Americans make up a tiny percentage of black Americans as a whole. But somehow they're in the media, overcompensating in the media, oversaturating the media. I know I don't just speak for myself when I say that I'm sick of seeing it, that it's gross, that it is destroying what black culture actually is. It's co-opting black culture as a whole and making it seem as though all of black culture...
See, that's what I was saying. America's a melting pot. So the culture that we once had is now just a small speck in a melded culture. And if you look at other cultures and you don't just harp on black people, you can see remnants of that in every other person that is in America. You can see white people doing this, Mexicans doing that, but they harp on black people and push us in the media to make us look like the criminals. But really, everybody is taking part of it in some way, shape, or form. You just have to open your eyes to it. I mean, like, we can just go on drugs alone. I've met plenty of crackheads, and they're not all black. And they be coming into work, managers, supervisors, high off of weed, crack. I mean, all types of weird stuff, man. So you really just have to pay attention.
Culture is ghetto subculture. I'm not the only black American who takes issue with it. Because like I said, majority of black America is middle class, not in the ghettos, not out here perpetuating gang violence, promiscuity, and everything else. And I don't care if you claim it's respectability politics. I guess so. So be it. Because this is gross. It's getting really gross out here how blatantly disrespectful and low class we're acting on social media and in the media, on the internet, on TV. And you can claim that this is someone else's set of moral standards, but no, it isn't. It isn't. Look at black America in the 50s, in the 60s. Our moral standards back then drastically different from what we have today, or what we're convincing ourselves is a moral standard today. Every racial group on the face of the planet has their own ghetto subculture within their respective racial and
That's a
ethnic
fact.
groups. This is the case for everybody, everywhere. White people, Asian people, Mexican people, you name it. The difference is that those racial groups and those ethnic groups do not allow their ghetto subculture to co-opt the entire culture as a whole and to represent the entire culture as a whole. They don't allow it. Everybody else within that respective ethnic group or cultural group or racial group has a right to say how they want to see themselves represented in the media, what they want to see and what they don't want to see, who gets.
And why is that? That's simply because black men have less power in their community, right? But every other community, the man is the head of that community. Argue with me, put it in the comments about why you disagree, it doesn't matter. Every other community has a man leading that community. There's a standard that was set by a man that everybody is following and everybody and all the men agree upon, and they lead with that. In our community, the man has pretty much been taken out of the picture. As I was saying earlier, black men, y'all, we don't need to be putting our seeds in women that we're not even sure we would even want to marry or even be with long term. We need to have discretion, and then we also, if you do have a child, you need to be in that child's life as best as you can, even throughout the court system and stuff. You need to find ways and loopholes to make sure that you are in that child's life. So that's where we can start. But yeah, all those other cultures, the man is the head and they set the standards, and they're not allowing their people to be perpetuated on the media in a certain light. And the media doesn't do it, one, because they probably know there's going to be a lack of viewership from those cultures, and two, they know they're not going to make no money off of it, because if there was just a mass push and they just put a bunch of white girls on the mainstream twerking and doing a bunch of debauchery, the white community would just tune out, be like, why are you putting that up there? Why are you doing that? Same with every other community. Our community, it's like we love to see that. We love to watch Love and Hip Hop on BET, and we love to watch those Tyler Perry specials where it's a man beating on a woman, and we like to watch that debate. Other people don't like to see their culture being degraded. Is that the word, degraded? I got to look it up. Degraded. Why did I say degraded? Come on, bro. Degraded. Other people don't like to see their culture degraded, but us, for some reason, we love to see that. We love to see people throwing wine and alcohol on each other, calling each other a bunch of B's and N-words. I mean, it's time to really cut the kid shit out and grow up. That's really all it comes down to. Yeah, it's funny to watch that stuff sometimes, and I'm not going to sit back and act like I've never watched it before. I mean, if I didn't watch it, I wouldn't know, right? So it definitely at least just needs to be a balance with it, and we need to look down upon behavior like that in our community instead of looking at it and thinking, wow, that's funny, or yeah, you get it, girl, yeah, you show that, man. It's like, all right, to
speak for them and who does not, except for when you're a black American and you have something to say about the way that you see black Americans being portrayed in the media, and you have a critique for your peers. You can't do it because it's respectability politics if you attempt to do it. Or you're judging your peers by a set of moral standards that somebody else created, which is a farce. From the Reconstruction era down through the 60s, Black Americans had their own set of moral standards and social protocols that we adhered to. Ask your grannies, ask your great grannies, they'll tell you. I have had just about enough of seeing Black culture being drugged through the muck by other Black Americans who are perverting it and turning Black culture something that...
In regards to ethics, real quick, ethics and morals is the baseline of it is universal because it's the truth. You know, you treat people with respect if you want to be treated with respect. When it comes to borrowing money and stuff, for example, you know, traveling traders, they knew even if they were in a different land, it's like, okay, I have this, so I'm expecting him to give me some type of currency and then I'm going to give him this. That was it. It's a fair exchange. Now it's more about people trying to get over on each other. That's the type of mindset that people have nowadays. It's more about getting over on each other and getting a quick laugh instead of actually doing right by people.
That is beautiful into something perverse. Showing their ass on the internet all the time. The men are constantly rapping and talking about gang violence. Our children are uneducated and stupid. We've created a cultural standard of promiscuity and single motherhood, and when a Black American goes to critique and judge our peers, our fellow Black Americans, and critique the condition of our neighborhoods today, they're shut down. That's respectability politics. You're policing Black Americans. If that's what it is, so be it. So be it. It needs to be said. And in order for us to attempt to escape accountability or responsibility on our own part, we claim that the conditions that we see in Black communities is being caused by somebody else. It's not our own fault. It's white people and it's structural racism or something or another. It's everybody else's fault except for our own. Give me a break. It's pitiful. It's pitiful that we refuse to take accountability for the things that we see going on in our communities. And sure, we can acknowledge that structural racism and the history of slavery in this country and discrimination and Jim Crow and Black codes and all of that has played a part in the conditions and some of the conditions that we see in Black communities. But we also have to be responsible for the ways in which Black Americans create their own conditions and contribute to the degenerative effects that we see going on in our communities. Black Americans who don't want to hear that immediately run to innocence. They run.
And yeah, see, I try and harp on this. Well, I have harped on it on some of my past videos on my channel, but your past experiences don't define you. And what I mean by that is this: the negative experiences in your past that you may have had, that doesn't make you who you are. It only makes you who you are if you let it. People try and use their past to victimize themselves. And look, I get it. All of that stuff in the past that happened, sure, it happened. And it hurt, you know, it's a generational thing to where they even teach it in schools today, as I was saying earlier, but there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, okay, yeah, you were slaves and this happened and then MLK came. And, you know, sometimes there's still slavery and prejudice here and there, but I mean, you guys got through it. That's all they teach, right? And as I was saying, people keep that in their minds for their whole life. But that doesn't mean you get to use that as an excuse as to why you're not doing good in your life, or as to why you can't elevate, and as to why, you know, our culture is the way it is now. It's up to us to take the knowledge that we have gained or have learned and the opportunities afforded to us. I mean, guys, we have AI now. I can literally go on my phone and have a whole thought-provoking conversation with a computer and gain insights on things. Knowledge is free. You just have to go out there and get it. So with all that being said, yeah, the past happened, but now we can use the knowledge the knowledge and the time that we've spent to actually make something of ourselves and to begin to create a culture of higher standards. Also, you know, I believe in God, so there's standards in the Bible. And people will say, well, that's the white man's, but we haven't read the whole book, bro. Read the whole book. Read the whole book and then come back and tell me that. But anyway, with that being said, we just have to do a better job of not victimizing ourselves and really pushing forward and creating new standards and morals for ourselves. And it starts with you. It's not about trying to push it on everybody else. It starts with you and your household. Whenever you get a wife or children or whatever you decide to do, make sure that there is a set standard for that child. I'll tell you why. Because my dad set a standard with me in a lot of ways, but one way that I will articulate that is through my speech and how I talk. I have been told that I have talked like a white person plenty of times. I'm very polite. I'm well mannered, and with that being the case, you know, again, I've been called white and all types of stuff, but that the way I speak has never left me. Yeah, sometimes I might stutter, and sometimes I might be able to get I might not have a full thought to be able to get across, or I'm not able to fully articulate sometimes, but for the most part, I am very articulate, and I am able to speak how I want to speak in a proper manner. And I'll tell you, that has helped me a lot through this life. So what I'm telling you is this: whatever you instill in your child, they won't depart from it. Yeah, there might be a weird teenage phase where they start trying to do weird stuff, but after that, man, it is what it is. You just have to give them a strong foundation to stand on.
Rush to innocence. They claim that it's respectability politics to call out these issues in our community. They claim that it's policing black bodies to call out the low morality and the moral decay in our community. Call it whatever you want. You're not going to get me to shut up about it. I'm black. This is my culture too. I have a right to talk about and critique what is happening in my culture and have something to say about it. That's all.
What if you could do SE?
So yeah, guys, that's the end of this video. What do you guys think about that? Leave your comments down below. My overall thoughts is this, man. It all starts with the man. You know, as you were saying earlier about how all these other cultures have different, or how they're not projected in this light, it really is because they have strong men in their societies or in their cultures. Our culture has pretty much said to hell with the black man. You know, you got Beyonce's School of Independence, but yet she's married to Jay-Z. So even she knows that she needs a man. Now, am I saying that there are circumstances where you might need to actually get rid of that man? I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, you know, if he beats on you, if he puts his hands on you, yeah, sure. Kick him to the curb. But a lot of the times, black men and black women just need to make better decisions on who they're laying up with, number one. And then instilling actual values into their children instead of just letting the school system and the media raise their child. But that's all I have for this video. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. Love you guys. Peace. Thanks for watching. Check out my YouTube or my Instagram for more content. Peace.